Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the metal markets. I'm Marcus Sokati. I've been trading the metals and energies for about 20 years at this point. That's in case you're new here and you have no idea who I am and you just randomly stumbled across the stream. Alright, I've got white charts on today. My eyes are finding the black charts a little bit difficult for some reason. So, I'm sorry, I know I'm a psychopath, but there it is. There's the proof, right? Okay, I don't know how much action we're going to get. Copper trended pretty nicely overnight, but my bots have not been kicking off at all because most of them are finding the volumes a little bit strange. And when that happens, it means that the volume thresholds are not crossing into what I typically look for in star setups and therefore also in my bots, right? So I have not really seen too many trades kick off at all. This is a manual trade, so this was a discretionary trade made by Mua. And what I'm trying to do here, I know it's an ADR high, okay? So I'm fully aware of the exhaustion area. But we broke out of the Asia high. And if you look at gold, gold and copper have been pretty correlated today. And gold still has a lot of space to go. It bounced from the 41.50 week call wall, but ultimately I do expect that to break down and for the market to actually go all the way up to 41.75, which is where its ADR high and ASR highs are located, but also the 4-hour Q point, which is a swing extreme on a medium large time frame. So all of that has confluences. Now, if they start pushing into this strength from inside the initial balance setup, which I lovingly call SEEB for short, it's going to drag copper along with it. So that's kind of the idea of what I'm trying to do here. And, you know, no promises, obviously. It could just come back down, smack me in the face, and then we're going to have to deal with the loss, which is fine, okay? As traders, you're going to get slapped in the face a lot of times. You're going to kiss a lot of frogs on the way as well. But before we carry on, you know that I've been talking about the Trader Education Network that some of us have been building, some familiar faces that you might know. Well, this week is the kickoff week, so we are starting with the live Discord classes in auctionstack.net, but the live class is obviously on Discord. It is a new Discord community. Quite a few of you are in there already. So if you want to check it out, we actually have a class happening right now. So you may want to, you know, mosey on over to auctionstack.net website. And for the daily live classes, you will need a nano tier membership. It is not super expensive or anything like that, but obviously we cannot have it completely free because we've got to eat. Just like anybody else. But yeah, so it's something that is very different from most things out there. And it is something that all of us who have created AuctionStack have been missing in our lives. So yeah, go check it out. I think you'll be quite pleasantly surprised what's in store. Alright, let's see who's in chat and to answer some questions. So we've got Vital, we've got Eloisa. Vital has a great question. I'll get to that in a minute. We got Christiana. Am I reading that right? I'm doing very well, thank you. Vital says, too many frogs lately. Yeah, that's right. It's August, so it's to be expected. Yeah, so Romac is saying no more Top Step. I mean, not for me. Top Step obviously carries on, right? So they are a prop firm. It just so happens that some of us have decided not to carry on with whatever Top Step has in store, right? So they're kind of pivoting to something new, which is fair enough. And those of us who are a bit older, I don't think that they want to go that way. So, and also I have my own lovely indicators, which you see on my screen here. So every single part of the market profile and these average ranges and the supply and demand zones and all of the other stuff that I've got on here That's all a part of my own software development company called Blahtech. If I'd stayed with TopStep, I wouldn't be able to be as vocal about it, and I certainly wouldn't be able to show it as something that I use on the daily basis, right? And it is something that I've been using for many years. Like, we've had Blahtech company as a software company since 2015, and before this we were on NinjaTrader, which many of you disliked, you know, rightly so. So now we're on NinjaTrader, and you know, I just have some, you know, different goals in life that are not really aligned with where TopStep is heading at the moment, and I'm trying to, like, obviously I'm still trading prop firms and that will not really change, but I am looking forward to having, you know, a wider scope where I can review different platforms, where I can freely mention services that I'm using without trembling on what legal and compliance are going to do. So, you know, it was a good run, right? It was three years, and I was their first female funded trader. So we also did Squawk Radio back in the day, like 11 years ago, 12 years ago. But yeah, it's definitely an evolution. You know, we're all evolving. Let's just call it that way. But yeah, check out Auction Stack. It is a new Discord community we're building, but we do have some content that we're planning on the website as well. And if you go to the website, you will notice a pretty cutesy sort of animation about how Open Outcry used to be and how that moved to the screens. Well, we're going to keep that theme going throughout all of the classes and everybody who's involved with the community. Just remember, in order to participate in the daily classes, you need the Nano tier membership, which is at the moment $39 a month. So it's almost an impulse decision, right? And there's 6 of us, so it's not just me. All right, Vital says, hey Dee, why do you skip the first hour of the market open when the next Shanghai close lives? Is that the question? So I dislike the initial balances in commodities because they are extremely noisy. Unlike equities, which can have a very nice movement straight off the open, or you know, already within the sort of like 5-10 minutes, commodities, if you notice, they are not nearly as frequent with trends as much as equities are. And even if you have a day where the market goes, let's say, up, very frequently the next session completely turns that around, and then you're stuck in a position that should be going long, but everything just comes back on you, and that usually happens during the initial balance. Classic example is today, right? We're going up, it all looks great, so you might be thinking, hey, at the open we're just gonna continue smashing higher. But it didn't quite work that way, did it? So it had a huge swipe back the other way, and now we have another opportunity to get in on a long. But that didn't happen during the initial balance, it happened after, right? So because of that, traditionally, whenever I personally, as a commodities trader, try to do the initial balance trades, they, for me, tend to be the worst trades ever, right? Very few of them work out for me, maybe 20% of them. So over time, I basically decided that trading for that first super noisy part of the day is not for me. There are times when we're maybe close to the value area and we kind of touch the outer edge and then reverse. I will consider taking a trade as a reversal from the value area, but any other situation, it's generally not something that I do. Again, it is based on my own stats. It is based on how I trade. I'm not a short-term trader. You guys know that I hold trades for regularly 90 minutes, but sometimes 2 to 4 hours, sometimes even longer than that if the day sets up for it. So I think that whoever gets involved for the open, they're probably a lot more scalpy, right? So they're looking for quicker movements and they're like hit and run. For me, hit and run kind of trades tend to put me on tilt. And even if I've had an awesomely massive, scalp that did very, very well, I'm still looking at it from a perspective maybe of an ego or something. I don't know why, but I like to capture a very nice big chunk of the entire day. Now, if we have a range bound day, that's obviously not possible. So on those days, I will pivot more towards range bound strategies. And then I will be looking for developing value highs and lows. I will be looking at the session highs and lows as possible liquidity sweeps and then reversals, and then just swiping things to the middle. So I've done all that. Now in August, I don't know how much I'm going to be streaming because the markets go a little bit weird. So I'm going to be focusing more on auction stack, but also I'm going to try to bring about 2 new long form videos. And one of those is going to be on range trading. So I'm going to put actual examples of trades that I've done on range days just so I can show you what I mean. But it's also going to have a lot of kind of AI animations in it because I think everybody responded to that pretty well. You're always going to have me as a talking head, so I'm not going to be using like some weird AI voice, and I'm not going to be making my own AI avatar or anything like that. If I do anything with avatars, it's going to be through just like actually I can probably show you what can be done. Let me just find it. Now this is going to go a little bit weird while I'm setting things up because I've got cameras in 2 places. Just give me a second. Oh no, we're all good. See? So this would be one example of what I might be doing with AI avatars, but it's still going to be me talking. It's not going to be, some weird thing that I'm using and I'm not a real person and whatever. It is me. It's just I might be using an animation to do it. So that's as far as we're going to go. But let's go back to the real cameras now. For today. Right, have I ever traded natural gas? Hell yeah, Vital. Oh yes, but natural gas is one of those products that is very seasonal. If you catch it at the part of the year when it's not really a good demand for it, typically spring and autumn, natural gas doesn't really do that much. I would be staying away from it because it's like watching paint dry. If you would enter a trade and you would just sit in it for 2 hours and you come back and it's like 3 ticks in profit. It's like, wow, what a trade. So because of that, I don't trade it throughout the year. You have to know the times of the year when natural gas actually moves, which traditionally has been during the winter months, and then also part of the summer when people are using air conditioning and stuff, so that kind of kicks up the demand for natural gas a lot. But yeah, it's definitely one of the products that I do trade, just not always. Some of the other weirder products that I do trade is gasoline futures, which is RBOB, R-Robert, as we like to call it, RBOB. And also heating oil. So when you look at something called the crack spread, it's actually a spread. I'm not joking. It's an actual name. It's called the crack spread, and it's a very particular ratio between crude oil and then the raw materials so a raw material and the 2 sort of derivatives that come out of the raw material, which would be gasoline and heating oil, right? So that's a very good alternative for the times when crude oil is not moving. Like for example in 2024, crude oil was being very fickle and it just was, it was like stuck in a 100-tick range all day, every day. And for me, the way I trade, that's not very good because I want to have at least 180 to 200 ticks of movement in a day, and it can't be just all done in like a single 30 to 60 minute bar. It has to have like a nice sort of follow through and ebb and flow to the market. But what was happening in 2024 it would just like literally go up or down during the first 30 minutes of the initial balance and then just get stuck in a 30 tick range. So for my strategy, that just doesn't work. But on those times, you have derivatives like RBOB that are more volatile, that are still moving really well because they're somewhat different than crude oil. And that is when I basically pivot to do the obviously the RBOB and heating oil trades. I don't do crack spreads myself. I do understand how they operate, but since I'm neither a commercial hedger nor do I work for like Shell or any kind of airline company that uses a lot of oil, I'm just a speculator, mere mortal who's doing quite well. Yeah, I don't tend to do crack spreads myself. If I do a spread of any kind, it will usually be something in the metals where, you know, I notice a divergence between the two metals that are normally correlated, and then I will run a spread between the two. So that's as close as I come. Echoing after showing AI screen. Yeah, that's probably because I've got probably the microphone in two places, but hopefully that's all gone now. I will look into that. If I ever decide to use it, if I ever decide to use it, I will look into making sure that the audio is obviously working properly. Gabba QSA said using TradingView, that software looks like from the 90s. This is NinjaTrader, mate. So I don't know what you're talking about. NinjaTrader 8, mate. Yeah, and Megatron, yes, why not? Why not? Right, let's have a look at some possible hypos based on what I have on copper here. So we obviously opened up way, way above the value area. And this is the process that I use every single day. Where are we opening in relation to yesterday's COMEX value? Quite high up, right? So if I tag the open here and I drag my little crosshair, it's effectively a repricing. Why? Because we're opening 1.44% away from the value area. Anything within about a percentage of the value, it tends to be an opportunity for mean reversion, with the best opportunities being 0.6 up to about 1%. Now this varies from product group to product, but generally I don't really look at mean reversions when we're this high, right, when we're so far out of value. So for me, a mean reversion today, yeah, it could happen, right, anything could happen, but it's kind of on the lower end of probabilities. The second thing that could happen is that we tag VWAP and go into a failed auction long with the open sentiment and then continue to rise higher, but maybe not go to any new areas, rather just tagging the initial balance high and kind of ending the auction there. Definitely a possibility. We could also just get stuck at the ADR high area and not go anywhere because it is the summertime and copper tends to finish trading on the London Metal Exchange in about an hour and 10 minutes. So if that tends to happen, sometimes you will see copper get up to the ADR high so it exhausts the range for the day and then just goes sideways. And then we finally have the hypothesis that I'm in on now, which is a breakout from the Asia high, retest of Asia high, and a continuation with the ASR high exhaustion as a potential target number one. Now I have a very aggressive target here at like all the way at 3R. Why? Because there's not too many weird options levels that could put a wrench in the works. So the first one that makes any sort of sense for swings, and I'm sorry Astrid is snoring like a truck driver in the back there. She's taken over from her dad. So if you're wondering what the fuck is that noise in the back. Yeah, it's a dog deep in dreamland. So yeah, the target one would be ASR high at 7130, that's 2R, but I really want to see if we can kind of push it. If it is truly an outlier day, we should exceed those areas. Now, after I get off the stream at midday Eastern, 5 p.m. my time, I am going to mosey on over to AuctionStack, and I'm actually going to do the, am I still reverberating? Like, what's going on? Is it still reverb? Why? Why? That's weird. Let me just check that. 1 second. Give me a minute. Ooh, yeah. What the hell's going on there? Okay, wait. Oh, I see. Press the wrong button. Is this better now? I pressed the wrong button. Okay, so what was happening? My FX3 has its own input, and for some reason, that Delulu stream decided to activate that. So it wasn't even me. It was it. So hopefully the echo is good now. Yeah. We're gone. Yeah. Do I still trade the Shanghai close? Yes, I do. Yep, I do. But normally, if I'm asleep, then I have a bot that will look for a very, very particular event. And that event is that you have to be very close to the Asia high or low to get a liquidity sweep and then a reversal. So that's kind of the highest probability trade there. Sometimes if I'm awake and I see that the sweep has not happened, but we're nowhere close, that's a more discretionary trade. So I will take it still. But it's a case by case in that situation. Because, you know, maybe you have a gamma wall there that you can fall back on. Maybe you have a value area, or, you know, any kind of other strong level that you can use as confluence. So, yeah. So that's quite funny. So we had Astrid snoring through all of that reverberation, yeah? So she was literally shaking the house. Okay, good to know. Yeah, what I was going to say, after I'm done with this stream, I'm moving on to AuctionStack, where I'm going to run the event, a live lecture in my Stack channel. Let me just drag out the event. Which is called Algo Research, the Muppet Edition. If you want to be attending, obviously it's nano tier and higher, so $39 or higher. But yeah, so just go to the website, sign up, and then connect your Discord through WAP, and you'll be in. It's a fairly simplistic thing to do. So that's happening once I'm off the stream. All right, this copper is going all right for now. It's slow, but it's getting there. Hopefully. And yes, you might see some familiar faces. I'm not going to say more. Not all of them. Not all of them. Some. Yeah, Bjorn says, well, the AuctionStack is live. All my favorite coaches. Yeah, exactly. So it's a very big project that we've taken on, but we're super excited. We're building something really cool, and I've been enjoying making all the assets for us, and obviously I built the website because now we have all these lovely tools. You know, I'm a web designer anyways, but you know, just being able to automate a lot of the stuff means that I can do the work of like 50 people. So it's been super exciting, very, very enjoyable to be back in the coding chair. And yeah, so throughout the summertime, that's going to be my main focus, I think. And then we're going to see if we can get some long form videos for YouTube. So I don't know how much I'm going to be streaming here. Because A, it's very hot. B, it's, you know, kind of a dead time of the year. The markets go either super quiet or they have these like really irregular volumes, which is what's happening right now. And they just keep missing the gates for what the bots are looking for and ultimately what I'm looking for as well. So if it doesn't look right, you probably shouldn't be trading it, right? Max, oh right, okay, you're in Blahtech Discord. So you need to connect your YouTube with Discord. So that's another thing. Again, if you go into user settings, and then if you go to connected accounts, connected apps, connections, there it is. I can't show you now because I've got the streamer mode enabled, but in there you will find a whole bunch of different apps and one of them will be YouTube. So that's step one. After you've done that, you then need to get out of Discord completely. And I mean completely, not just like minimize it to a tray, system tray. No, you need to go to the taskbar, right click on it, and then you need to completely kill Discord and get back into it. For some reason, this is the stupid Discord thing, it doesn't update the roles when Discord is still open. Like sometimes it will update it after a full day, but you want it immediately. So those are the steps to do it. I actually sent you an email earlier as well. I don't know whether you saw it. Maybe it landed in your junk mail or something. But yeah, try that and let me know if you're in. But yeah, so that's Blahtech Discord where we have ASR and, you know, all of the other things. If you don't necessarily want to purchase all the indicators, we do post the levels in there. For the market profile, we currently have, I think, about 12 or 13 markets that we support. And then we also have average session range, average daily range. So obviously ASR is my concept, so you're not really going to find it elsewhere. And now every so often I will also post some dealer positioning on gold. You know, I'm going to start doing that on Auction Stack as well in some of the channels, probably in Nano. But yeah, it's going to be a super exciting summer of, you know, us just trying to get this thing off the ground. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So please do join us and let's all hang together in the new Discord. Let's have a look at what crude oil is doing because we did talk about energies for a bit. Alright, so crude oil in a little bit of a precarious situation. It bled through the 750 gamma wall. I was actually looking for a bit of a slowdown there, and I suppose it did slow down, but negative gamma environment means that we've smashed through all the levels and now we're kind of reclaiming. One thing I really dislike about crude oil, and again this is a function of the summertime, is all of these levels really close together. So the way I look at the levels of interest from the options chain is to take both the open interest but then also a whole bunch of other Greeks and then smush them together for areas of interest. Whenever they're this close together, that's never going to be a smooth market. It means that you're going to run into hedging at every point. So every 30 ticks or so, 30 to 50 ticks, you're going to have some market maker hedging somewhere. Now that creates a tug of war type price action, and that's not a smooth nor a comfortable market to trade. So keep that in mind as you're, you know, analyzing the markets. If you do use gamma levels, even if you don't use them, I would advise you to basically look at them at the very least to see whether they're all like bunched up together. And if they are, that is more likely to lead to chop than any other tool that you might use to figure out whether it's a good day or a bad day. So ideally you want to have a very nice space between one gamma level to the next, right? So crude oil for me specifically today is not really something I'm looking at. I did do one long trade yesterday on it, and that was, I don't know whether it even went anywhere. And then I also did a failed auction that worked out, but it's just like, it's been, again, very muted. Obviously not today, we've had some news, and it seems like they're just waiting for news, and it's a very annoying state for me. But yeah, one of the hypotheses that maybe we can have a look at is to see what it does around 77.50, but the zone has to be pretty wide. We are still inside the initial balance, so it's a non-trend day, again, function of the summertime. Maybe if it sort of starts dancing in between 77.50 and 78, maybe there's a short there, but it's not going to be like some big trade like, you know, London did, jumped off a cliff there. It's probably going to just be a bit of a you know, slight fade and then nothing, unless somebody opens their mouth again and start talking. Then we're going to have another massive lot of movement that you probably won't be able to catch unless you're already in. Yeah. As we are getting to the final half an hour of London close, we want to see whether there's any reversals potentially happening. If not, that also gives us information, right? So London close is another thing that happens in a day where if you don't get a big reversal for the London close, it usually validates the trending day idea. And that goes for everything, whether it's equities, commodities, whatever. If you are in a trending type situation and you don't get a massive reversal, then you're like, okay, let's keep going, let's keep holding this. It's kind of one of the little nudges of situational awareness that I like to use. But a lot of my trades, like for example, if copper extends the initial balance upside, I would try to fade that into the London close. It's actually one of the stronger setups that I have in my playbook. I don't know whether it's a day for that today, because every single pullback was very muted, and we bounced off of VWAP, and then we never even went back to VWAP, which is usually a sign of strength. So yeah, so that's my take on that. Well, what are you guys trading? What are you guys trading? And you never know, we might drag Hogan Ray for a couple of lectures. So yeah, let's see what the London close does. All right, Elise, I see your message. Let's have a look. Mean reversal. Yeah, so you were here from the beginning, Eloisa, right? So yeah, mean reversal to value high. I think we're in more of a repricing, so I don't know how big that will be. So the hypos that you've got, since I'm already on air, right? So the hypos that you've got, they all kind of, apart from the failed auction long, I like that one. Most of them, the other two require quite a big move in the opposite direction from what we've done already. I would have wanted to see a reacceptance of the Asia range in order for those two to be at the top of my list. And because that hasn't happened, and we've basically spent the entirety of the COMEX session for now above Asia high, that gives me situational awareness that we are actually trying to go higher. Not terribly successfully, because we're still building structure, and you know, we've had a big excess that happened right at the open. But yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical about the whole mean reversions in copper today. If anything, gold looks better for mean reversion than copper, because it is closer. Let me get my crosshair here, because I don't think I have it. So yeah, so you see, it's minus 0.56% distance from value high. So the open, as it was today on gold, is a lot more conducive to mean reversions down to value. And then you also have a very beautiful confluence of settlement and average session range low and a 4-hour time frame demand, all in and around that 4100 area. But again, if they're bullish today, they're bullish, so they're not going back down. Raphael has a very good question. Is there a particular product that is most likely statistically to fade on London close? Yes, copper and oil. But, you know, obviously, like anything, it's a matter of context. I think crude oil today probably has a better chance of a fade. But all commodities, hard commodities, I mean, you know, not softs. Like, you know, I'm not talking about ags because I don't know much about ags. Actually, Coach Hoop is probably your best bet there. But when it comes to, you know, crude oil, copper, metals, most of them will have an attempt of a reversal, but the ones that are the most successful, if it's that kind of a day, it'll be copper or crude oil. So those two are like, you know, almost like clockwork. Almost, right? Sani says, I have a call in SPX, SP from the yesterday, managed to make profit in the morning on prop. Brilliant. That's what we want to hear. Yes, trading options and then also banking in prop. Do you find, so let me know, do you find that when you are in an options trade, you can kind of make better decisions in prop? Because you kind of have one anchor that you've expressed over here, but now you can sort of dance around it, because that's what I find. Every time I'm in a swing trade, I'm actually pretty good at figuring out when I'm supposed to be going back in or when I'm going against it. I don't know why it puts such structure in my head. Vital says, oil, gold, copper, ES, NQ. Okay, so ES and NQ, let's have a look at the equities. I don't really like trading them too often. Not never, because I used to trade a lot of equities. I just don't anymore. But let's have a look at ES chart. Yeah, okay, this is a good example now. So here is ES screaming to the upside, going through a very strong mega call wall. And even though this is supposed to be a stabilizing positive gamma environment, this is the equities for you. So they just unapologetically scream upside on any excuse. And that's what we're seeing here. So as we head into the London close in the next 21 minutes, yeah, you might see a retest of 7,700. But is it going to be a failed upside auction? Probably not. Why? Because it's a pretty strong auction to the upside. Like if you look at the structure of it, and also, again, let's look at the Asia range. We're above the Asia high, and they just screamed away from it as soon as the market opened, and they haven't been back there. So any sort of pullbacks in equities to the short side on a day like this, just know that that's a dangerous counter trend trade. And it's, even if you get involved, I'm not saying don't short it, right? Because I would, but don't be aggressive with positioning and don't be aggressive with hold times, because it's not going to work out very well for you. Why? Because it's an equity index, and if it doesn't work out, you want to get a bitch slap, not like a punch in the face. I hope you like my analogy. You know, you don't want to get hurt too badly by you being oversized in equities because you're like, well, it has to go down. It doesn't, okay? It doesn't have to go down. It's not a matter of gravity. These are equities, and they've been going up for as long as I've been watching them. And then if you do ask somebody like Hogue or Hoop or any one of the guys who have been trading for decades, you're going to hear that they've been watching the markets go up for 30 and 40 years. So, you know, let's try not to go against that, right? And similar thing with the ADR high exhaustion in equities. Sure, you might get a slowdown, you might get a little squiggle lower, but ultimately you expect either for them to fizzle out at that point or it's going to go a little bit higher. Now, ADR low, when you have a potential for bargain hunters to step in, that's another thing altogether. And that is actually a pretty strong setup whenever you have something to the long side on a day where equities fell, but there's no obvious reason for it, that's the point where you can have a super high probability trade to the long side, because there's always buyers, just because of the nature of what they are. Right, so I'm going to stay here for another, obviously, 20 minutes to watch the London close. After that, I'm going to go and have a bit of a rest to give my voice some time to just chill a bit. I also discovered I actually have, that's new, so I have nerve damage where the virus kind of went through, and it's the reason why I don't have my belting anymore as a singer, which is very heartbreaking. But, you know, now I need to like rehabilitate that. So my voice does get like quite fatigued, and yeah, I have to be a little bit more careful now that I know what's up. So yeah, 17 minutes, we're gonna hang together, and I'm gonna obviously just observe what this copper is doing. For now it's going okay. Notice how generous I'm being on the stops, right? This is not a small stop. This is almost a, so it's a 68 tick stop, because I don't want to be whipped out, you know, on a test of VWAP and then bounce back. I want less stress, and for me that means wider stops, making sure that I'm in a trade that I'm supposed to be in on, and that the mean reversion D today is sitting in a corner and not talking, because it's not a day for mean reversions, I don't think. And, you know, I've gotten in trouble trying to fade the markets, because I'm just a natural contrarian. That's what I do. And every time I see something going up, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good reversal. But some days, you know, I've tried to develop some processes that tell me, hey, this is a bit too far out, so actually it's probably a continuation, so don't go against it, maybe. And yeah, that took forever, I can tell you now. Boy CM says, your voice is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Used to be better, but yeah. Are the US equities in London morning even tradable? I mean, yeah, they're tradable, but if you're going to trade anything in the morning equities-wise, I would probably go to DAX, German DAX. And if you buy a, so there's a couple of, there's 3 firms that allow you to buy Eurex on top of a prop thing, but it has to be through Tradeovate. And it's Apex, Tradeify, and Trade Day. If you get their Tradeovate accounts, and actually I think Trade Day only has Tradeovate, then you can buy the additional Eurex data feed through actual Tradeovate platform. And that just runs on the 1st of the month. So even if you, like, let's say you got to like the 30th of the month and you're like, right, what Dee said, I can trade Eurex, so let me buy it. And then you buy it, but come the 1st of the month, they will charge you again. So just make sure you know that any sort of data fee and exchanges, they will always charge you on the 1st of the month. They just don't care. But it is an additional cost on top of the evaluation that is completely not connected to the eval. However, those 3 companies do allow you to trade Eurex products, which is why I stick with them. So there are also 3 companies that allow you to trade with bots, right? They don't have a problem with it. Everybody else is like, ooh, bots. I'm like, what are you so afraid of? Like, really? We're not that scary. Quick Flick says, hi, how's the weather in the UK? Very hot. So right now, I did open a part of the house that kind of has a little Jack and Jill area. So usually when I close the door of my office, it's like just sweltering. It's horrible. So we have another heat wave, but the problem is in August, they get even more humid. I can just about survive about an hour of streaming under the lights. After that, I'm just like, ah. So again, I have to keep it to an hour, right? Otherwise, it will start melting very slowly. All right, we're slowly starting to see a little bit of weirdness coming through in gold for the London close. So this is Bookmap. Now, how much is this gonna affect my copper? Yeah, probably. I'm expecting that they're gonna pull it down, and then over the next 2 hours, they're gonna pull it back up. But again, since I'm not a scalper, I'm not gonna take the 400 now and then re-enter, because I hate doing that. I think it's a waste of time for me personally. So what I do, I allow it to go through the squiggle for the London close if I believe that I'm right, and I do believe I'm right. Let's just have a little gander at what copper is doing. Yeah, see, the copper reaction is not nearly as crazy. So for now, this is just mainly a gold event. So we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. And then typically, even if you have that pullback on single direction days in metals after London close, they start to bring it back up. And then over the course of the next 2-3 hours, sometimes even 4 hours, you go to a session high. And that's why I don't like to exit, because I want all of that. Even though I know that I'm going to have to be okay with a pullback. And I'm probably one of the few people who can totally sit in a pullback with no freakouts whatsoever. And people have a problem with that with me. They're like, why didn't you take profits? Because it's not a part of my plan. I'm shooting for, you know, at least 100 ticks here. So why would I take 21? To me, 21 ticks means nothing. Like it's a failed trade, especially if you're using a 68 tick stop loss. So yeah. All right, this is the London close now. Yeah, starting. Are there any bookmap resources that you would recommend to learn how to read it? I have one lecture? Yeah, in the PDP program. On YouTube, of course, you have people who are talking about bookmap. You have to, you know, see who you resonate with. There aren't too many resources that will actually show you, hey, this is exactly what I look for. Because order flow is not like that. Order flow is a very, how would I put it? Very chaotic way, and a million things can happen at any one point. So if you are going to always say to people, well, I'll look for a sweep on bookmap before I enter, that's not strictly true, because you don't necessarily need a sweep in order to enter a mean reversion. It's better if there is one. But and then the same thing with absorptions and exhaustions. You're not always going to have an absorption at a level that's about to either break or reverse. It's more likely that, you know, one time it's going to be a lack of interest. So you get the market reaching a level and then just kind of petering out and nothing happening, and then slowly starting to reverse. But then they plow back in. So, you know, that's definitely one. So it's the problem with bookmap and order flow in general is because there's so many different options that can happen at any single point. All you need to do is have a rudimentary understanding of what is it that you should be looking for. And then from there on out, to look at the level of interest that you have. So not just staring at bookmap. Nobody that I know who trades with bookmap, including myself, uses it in a way where it's like, oh, we have no charts, we're just going to put bookmap, and then we're like, okay, you have to have levels, right? And I think that's maybe where some of the confusion comes from, where some of the very new traders just want to use bookmap and nothing else. It's like, it's not quite enough. So you have to have anchor points, is what I call them, whether they are through the volume profile or market profile or, you know, smushed gamma levels with my statistical averages, something that will tell you, okay, we have arrived, so therefore now this is my hypothesis. And then all that bookmap should be doing is showing you whether the institutional traders and market makers are thinking the same thing. That's the only thing you should be looking at. So, and how are they doing it? Are they absorbing the orders? Are they smashing through them and then doing nothing with it? Is there any juice behind a rally that you're seeing? Like, is it continuing to rise in volume, or is it like petering out, like the higher up they go? Because obviously that can happen in commodities where you think it's a strong rally and then the volume just kind of goes away. In equities, though, again, equities being equities, you can have these, we refer to them as zombie rallies, where it's very low volume, but it just keeps drifting higher. And there's a saying from back in the olden days, never short a quiet market. But that doesn't really apply to something like crude oil. I will absolutely short a quiet crude oil market because it's more likely to go down. Since it's a short bias product, right? And crude oil never made it to 77.50. So again, nothing to do there. Right, I see Puneet's question as well. Positive gamma, yep. Near the RNAs are still intact. Failed auction resulting in a neutral date. Yep, okay, that's good. Second hypo, sustained auction until ASR high. I would have put, I don't know whether Puneet is here, but I would be putting fourth one, SEEB, instead of the second one. Purely because it's quite high up, and then we had that 41.50 level, so yeah. Third hypo, auction fade for day rich fill. If we get to ASR high, yeah, it's all good. I would have also gone with the long neutral day on gold in case we get to either settlement or somewhere in the vicinity of ASR low, value high, Asia low. That would have been my choice. Yeah. Mr. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Tokyo, London, New York is all different style of trades. Yeah. Oh, yes. I 100% agree. Tokyo tends to be more smooth and more trending, or it likes to do these like exhaustion fades around the pre-Tokyo range. But initial balance and generally profile, like you can't look at the shape of the profile during Asia and have it do exactly the same thing as is doing. But it's in many ways simpler, right? So I anchor myself to the time of day during Asia a lot. 6 minutes till the London close, and then I will be out of here. And if this survives the London close, I'm leaving it. I'm going to leave it. You have to understand the gold trading mechanic first to watch the charts for a long time to master it. Yep, 100%. I probably watched the charts without much involvement from order flow. Like obviously I watched time and sales in Dome since I got into prop, which is 2013. But yeah, just objectively tracking when gold likes to turn around, because it does have times of day. Just like crude oil, it's the same thing. So it has times of day when statistically they like to fade things. But having said that, gold is actually a lot more of a trending type market than a lot of things out there. When you look at the last sort of 8 years, we come up with 45% of the days that are trending type days, as opposed to something like ES or NQ, where you're probably going to find 30% of trending days, and then as opposed to crude oil and copper, where you're probably going to find maybe 8% of true trending days, like they're really rare, and it's always to do with something geopolitically happening. It's not just like, oh yeah, we're just going to have a trending day. Although on crude oil, Tuesdays and Thursdays tend to be a little bit more trendy type because of the bi-weekly options that they introduced in July 2024, I think it was. And I remember because I started my show, whatever it was called back then, but I started my segment on Top Step then. And I remember distinctly reading, they're like, oh, to allow market participants to position themselves in a more dynamic way, we're introducing bi-weekly crude oil options. It's like, okay. Joe Jacobs says, hello D, do you consider going long on pullback to VWAP? If you're talking about copper, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to add to this because I'm already in a similar trade. However, yes, longs from VWAP, if you get order flow that agrees, it would be a failed auction, right? Because we're still in a non-trend day. Anything can happen. So they need to swipe this, you know. they need to do something in order to pick up more orders so they can do whatever they're going to do ultimately. Or another option is that they swipe the lows, pull back over VWAP, and then go flat because it's August. So you are missing M&Q rally. I couldn't give a monkeys about any rally in equities, frankly. I'm not an equities trader. I'm like, you know, this, it's so funny to me, you know, people who are NQ traders in particular. And I also get people who come to my channel, they're like, Dee, why do you trade metals so much? Imagine somebody going to an NQ streamer and asking that same question. Like, imagine going to Rips and go, Rips, why do you trade NQ so much? Like, what? It's my product. What? But yeah, the amount of people who are FOMOing over anytime, you know, there's a rally in equities, they're like, wow, Dee, you know, you should have gone. I don't care much for that. Like, I'm not into equities. I hate the things. So even if there is a rally, I'm not looking at the chart going, oh, damn it. Like, I missed it. I just look at it and I go, oh, yeah, that's a nice day. I have no emotional involvement with any of this, to be honest. Because some people are like super emotionally connected to every trade they take. They see it as like boom or bust on every trade. I look at it from a longer term view. It's like, what do we do over a year? What can we do over 3 years, right? I'm not looking at every single trade as like, oh, this is the one. This is the one. It's one trade out of, or one day of a rally in an equities index out of thousands of days and thousands of trades that I've done. So it really bears no relevance. Even if you get smacked on the face with a daily loss limit, these days, you know, it doesn't happen that often to me. It happens maybe 3 times a month where I'm just like, it's either the market is not playing ball or I'm off my game. Usually it's I'm off my game, but sometimes it's the market, right? Sometimes. So I would be like, you know, okay, let's try it. So I still stick to the plan. It's not like I tilt and I'm like, oh, more trades, more trades. I try one trade, doesn't work. I get up for Shanghai, that one doesn't work. Okay, it's a trending move. I try trending the trade. Usually that either works or it doesn't work, so it kind of covers a little bit. So it's not like all like car crash all day whenever I have a bad day. It's like up and down, but then overall you just get to a daily loss limit as the day draws to an end. And that's okay, you know. And for me, at the end of the day, I don't go crying in the corner, hugging myself. I just go, okay. Like Mr. McKay from South Park. Okay. Wasn't it just, Bjorn? Yeah, Bjorn says, it was funny when gold was hot and all the NQ bros started trading GC. And silver. I've actually seen people who have only traded NQ in their life suddenly putting on their Twitter bio or X, Twix, whatever the fuck we call it these days. They were like, still trader. And I'm like, oh, you're a still trader now, are you? What can you tell me about that particular product then? And they know nothing about it. And obviously they went back to equities as soon as the volatility was gone. So they were silver traders, micro silver traders for about a hot minute. And then when silver and gold turned around, which is what commodities do, you know, they are a fickle beast. Nobody saw that coming. They're like, yeah, we're going to 120. we're going to 10,000. It's like, yeah. Just you wait. And sure enough, what happened? It all just rolled over, right? It's metals. It's metals. They never, almost never go in a straight line. It's not an equities index. And I tried to explain that to people, and people are like, oh, Dee, you must be enjoying all of this volatility. I actually move out of the way when shit gets crazy that much. And I kind of traded it at first, but then once the volatility regime gets to a point where we have 2,000 ticks of an average daily range, that's my sign to bow out and to wait for some more calm market conditions, because I'm not a gambler, right? I am a risk taker, for sure, but I'm not a gambler. Like, I'm not that insane. Some people, though, they are that insane because they see everything that's moving a lot to like a really ridiculous amount, whether it's crypto, whether it's meme coins, whether it's, I don't know, silver or gold. They see that as like, oh my God, so much money to be had. But at the same time, they're not approaching it from a risk perspective. They're not going, well, if this goes wrong, that's a lot of risk of ruin there. And, you know, the bar has to be pretty big. So, you know, it's like you have to size down. Do you want to size down? But in all those situations, risk of ruin is like, for all those people who were sudden SIL traders, I can guarantee you it was like not 100%, billionth of a percent that they're going to blow up in the subsequent days. It just, there was no other option. And that's exactly what happened. Now, some people rinsed prop firms out, like they rinsed them dry, and this is why we have all of these crappy live accounts, and you know, we have payment caps, and it's no longer the golden era. And that's also the reason why I went to multiple accounts trading. Otherwise, if we still had the beautiful, you know, situation where you can build one account and then eventually that gets transferred into live, that would have been great. But we don't live in that environment anymore. All right, so London has been and gone, and again, limited pullback, right? So as I said before, I'm going to leave this to do whatever until, well, really as long as I can keep it, probably until the end of the day, you know. I want to see what COMEX does, and on copper, COMEX actually closes about 25 minutes earlier than gold, so everything should be done probably by about 95 minutes time or so. So I'm gonna say goodbye here on this channel. However, I'm going to move into Auction Stack, where I'm gonna have my first live lecture for the Nano tier memberships, and it's gonna be on algorithm research, the Muppet edition. So we're not gonna be talking about code, not today. We're going to be talking about the process of finding the edge. That's something that is probably too boring for YouTube to talk about, but if you're interested in how I approach my algorithm research and how I get my bots to do what they're doing, then come and join me. It should be a good one. I might not have my face on because it gets super hot and I want the lecture to go for another hour. So in the spirit of me not getting super dehydrated and surviving an hour, I'm just going to be doing audio, maybe with that little weird avatar that I showed you. So yeah, join me over there. And this was, again, it's a trade that's probably going to go on for another 4 hours. Nothing scalpery. I'm not a scalper. And we'll see what happens. In the meantime, I'm going to, like I said, focus more of my efforts to Auction Stack in August. But I'll see if the weather gets a little bit cooler. Maybe I'll still run one live stream over here. Until then, keep your eyes peeled on my community posts area on my channel, where I usually post whether I'm going to stream or, you know, what's happening that day. So keep an eye on that. And I will see you in the Auction Stack room. Me. See you there.